course, you're welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. Government remains resolute. It says it will be able to rake in the 6.9 billion cedi projected revenue from the controversial electronic transaction levy. Now, this is because all the agitations by stakeholders have been addressed. Speaking at the Economic Governance Platform Public Forum on the E-levy, a Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah, explained that it is the way to avoid further borrowing for critical developmental projects. We have more in this extensive report.
The forum, organized by the Economic Governance Platform, Advocates for Christ Ghana, and supported by Joy Business, was focused on the country's rising debt levels as well as the electronic transaction levy. Many have raised concerns about the ability of the country to raise the targeted revenue due to some pressures on businesses and the economy as a whole. However, Deputy Minister of Finance John Kumah disagrees.
If anybody tells you that we are not going to get that figure, tell him it's not true. We believe in what we have done. It is a very, very conservative figure. And even we know that once you introduce a tax, there will be attrition rate. People will initially resist and try to avoid it and all that. Even that has been factored to about 24% of attrition rate. We factored all those things in coming into. And sometimes I'm very careful at pointing to that because the next time the headline will come, Kompuma says that Momo users have been reduced by 24%, which is not what I'm saying. I'm only saying that in our revenue projections, we did attrition rate with that figure so that in case we want to hit a certain amount that we expect to get, and it's even dropping, we will still be within the range.
He also used the platform to reject calls by some sections of society that the country should go back to the International Monetary Fund for an economic program.
Nothing wrong with discipline, but there is social and political and economic consequences for going through an IMF program. And you and I know that before the NDC government left, we had formed Graduate Unemployment Association in our country. About 100,000, we had to introduce what we call NAPCO to absorb about 100,000 graduates who had completed school for 3-4 years with no opportunity in the public sector. A lot of consequences will come when you want to go through a certain path.
Meanwhile, the country representative of the International Monetary Fund, Dr. Albert Tunamama, has urged stakeholders, including the government, to focus on policy measures that will revive the economy rather than going to the IMF for an economic program. According to him, although an IMF program is a good one for the short term, it is not sustainable if drastic policy measures are not followed.
So I think there is so much emphasis on the conditionalities that it seems that they come out of nowhere. These are negotiated reforms that need to happen in order to get yourself out of the difficult situation. And for this reason, we have no doubt that the program with the IMF will be extremely helpful in the current situation. But we are mindful, and we've had these conversations, that that's not the direction that the government wants to take. And I think that, and I'll call on all the stakeholders, the focus should be on what else needs to happen. Fine, the IMF is not a solution. Let's focus on the reforms. Let's focus on the spending streamlining. Let's focus on the policy package that is out there to fix the problems that I have listed. That's where the focus should be.
Economics Professor Godfrey Bokpin challenged government to block the financial loopholes in the tax system to raise the necessary revenue rather than going ahead with the E-levy.
The point that we are making here is that we all agree Ghana needs more money. We need to scale up our tax effort and all of that. The mode, the medium, the strategy to achieve that must be equitable, must be progressive, and must also recognize the realities on the ground that, as Prof. Aka said, that whilst government is struggling at the aggregate level, it's a reflection of the individuals, households, and also firms. And therefore, whatever tax measures you introduce to solve your problem at the apex level must reflect reality in an inequality worsening pandemic that we have. So how do you do that progressively? I put here close leakages. Kwachi also talked about that. In Ghana, we lose as much as we are able to collect. Tax effort is approximately 13% of GDP. Ghana loses as much as that. That actually, when you look at that, it's in excess of 77 billion cedis in current terms. So what it means is that we could actually measure on closing those leakages rather than measuring on a minor, which is E-levy. That is where we need to focus our attention. You know, if we don't do that, and we can introduce additional tax handles, and it will still not solve the problem. We'll be here. And why am I saying so? It's not 1.75 or even 1.5. Last year, government introduced Gov't levy. 1%. Okay. Sanitation levy. We prayed to God and then we moved on. But this one, we are not only praying, we are taking some practical steps that it doesn't happen, this E-levy.
Professor Charles Aka, speaking on domestic revenue mobilization, rejected claims that the only alternative to revive the economy is through the electronic levy.
How do we bring in the property taxes? How do people live in this country in luxury, in estates, 7-bedroom houses, and they don't pay taxes? By the way, as I conclude, the European Union trying to introduce more taxes, 3 more taxes. None of them is E-levy. None of them is E-levy. It's a tax on carbon. So that is targeting rich people who are driving high-value big V8, the airline industry that have money and they are polluting the environment. It's a tax on multinational companies that are rich and have made a lot of profit even through this COVID. So for example, we can talk about during this COVID when hotels are collapsing. Many of us were forced to online activities, which means that the telecoms have made a lot of profit. Why can't we sit with them and say, no, you must contribute to the recovery of the economy? Everybody, all school children were online. So whilst hotels were collapsing and schools were collapsing, telcos were making money. Some sectors benefited. Check the statistics, you will see that some sectors benefited a lot. These are the sectors that are being taxed in Europe. They are not going to tax mobile transactions. I don't think any economists will agree to that. So I think that, yes, government definitely need more money. We need to all pay taxes and we need to make sure that the tax system is fair. And we should target those who are not paying taxes and bring them in. And let's think about innovative ideas. By the way, why do we have to abolish the road tolls if we need more money? And if the excuse is that it's causing traffic, is there no other innovative ways of solving the traffic problem? Because that's money that we are throwing away for this month. I don't agree that because of traffic, then we should say anybody can go to the airport and that they should not pay airport tolls or parking tolls. There's any way we should think about it. Other countries have those taxes. You can go to Hong Kong, go to China, go to Europe, go to America. They have road tolls and it's not causing traffic. So I disagree.
Executive Director of Pen Plus Byte, Juliet Amwa, expressed confidence that the suggestions made at the forum will be considered in the ongoing E-levy debate.
Had some kind of raging debates about Ghana's current debt crisis. The government of Ghana has proposed to impose an E-levy on all electronic and financial transactions. Citizens are split in opinion, and we know that there's a cohort that thinks that we might as well just go to the IMF now, and that rather than tax the electronic pockets of citizens. There's another cohort, obviously, that thinks that there's nothing essentially wrong with an e-tax, but there is everything wrong with an e-levy. And there's yet a third cohort of Ghanaians who are just waiting in the wings to, as it were, take us back to the cash-wielding economy that we were a few years ago. And this last group is mostly traders and service providers. They're just waiting in the wings. Now, in the ensuing noise of that debate, it's easy to lose objectivity. It's easy to lose the integrity that is required for such an endeavor as we have on our hands. And it's also easy to lose the kind of unflinching resolve that is needed to push through to the right decisions and actions. So today, the Economic Governance Platform, the Advocates for Christ and our media partners, Joy FM Multimedia Group, are here, and we want to collectively provide a space that is safe and nurturing, where we can discuss, devoid of all the noise that's happening, findings from the civil society space and also from the academic community. We want to proffer some considered solutions and strategies to the government of Ghana.
The theme for the public forum is E-levy, IMF, or what sustainable solutions to Ghana's debt crisis.